Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. So pleased to have in the studio with us today is Dr. Julie Ducharme. Am I pronouncing that name correctly?
You are.
Very good.
Right,
Okay.
first time.
Get bonus points for that. She's the president of Synergy Learning Institute. How you doing, Julie?
I am doing fantastic.
Very good. Thanks for coming into the studio. Really appreciate that. What is Synergy Learning Institute?
Oh, I look back on this and I always have a little bit of a laugh because when I first envisioned starting Synergy Learning Institute, it was this idea to have a nonprofit for veterans transitioning out of the military. I was a dean at the time of another college, and the best thing I knew was education. And I thought, well, if we could provide more education, then that would help. And I thought, I'll start this little nonprofit. Naively, I thought, sure. I mean, how hard is it to start a college?
Just a little bit, I imagine.
Just a little bit. So I naively started it. And of course, it was a lot more work than I realized. And it's been growing for 10 years. And we started out with just one program, Combat Boots to Heels, for women veterans transitioning out of the military. Now we have full-fledged programs. We have accredited programs. We work with universities across the U.S., and we're even now recently partnered with an international group in New Zealand to offer programs and training for our veterans who may be on the other side of the world. And so we're growing and then becoming a full-fledged technical vocational school.
That's nice. Now, is it only women that you're working with, women vets?
Well, we started out working with just women. Now we work with all women and men, and we even work with mil spouse and military children who might need some education.
Right. And we all know how that military spouse is so critical. It's something that's a common refrain our show over here is making sure when those people move to a different city that we're getting them employed as well, while the other persons are deployed if they are indeed in that aspect of it. What got you interested in the military? I mean, do you have a military background?
Well, both my grandparents were in the military, both my grandfathers, and lots of stories hearing that growing up, other family members. When I was recruited to San Diego to play volleyball, I suddenly was immersed in a military town.
Right.
And everyone I knew was either their family was in the military or, somehow associated. And so that's how I really got affiliated with, and that was a good 20 years ago. And I always came back to San Diego. It always felt like home to me. And the more I got involved in it, it just naturally was a way that I could get involved with the community. And I just have a love for our veterans, our military families, the sacrifices they make. I mean, everything that I have today is because they went and fought for that. And so I just feel that it's important that I give back in any way I can.
Right. So how do people find out about your program? Do you promote this with the different services here? Obviously we're the largest military port in the country with the Marines and the Navy and Coast Guard, smattering of Army, I'm sure, and all that business. Do you work with the different, certain like Navy base San Diego? You working with Miramar? Do you work with San Diego Military Advisory Council? All of the above?
We try, yeah, absolutely. We're open to working with, and we do work with a variety of groups. I mean, we get everything from the VA who calls us and says, "Hey, we only have so much money per student. Do you guys have a program?" To individual private groups. So, and we actually, due to COVID, we went completely online, and now we work nationally. So we have hubs in Bakersfield, San Diego, and Washington, D.C.
Right. Is there a certain area? So are you getting a hold of that vet? We've talked about this, I think you and I, over the phone with groups like Reboot or 0800 that are doing a lot of the similar things when people transition out. I mean, in a perfect world, you're meeting them with the people a year before they transition out. And by the way, I'm getting out tomorrow. Really? They've been giving any thought to this? No. When do you start working with that vet? Or soon-to-be vet, I should say.
We really try to work with them a couple years out. We really encourage that. We do get veterans who literally call us a month after they're out, desperate and not in any position. So we spend a lot of time educating. I even write a column for a couple of the military magazines with veterans who have transitioned out successfully, and they talk about doing a year, 2 years, or 3 years out. And we find that those veterans who do that really do transition well when it comes to moving into those positions. But we absolutely encourage that. We try and grab them early and really educate and think about this ahead of time. And we're also a little non-traditional in that we don't just say, go get another job that fits your military career. We really actually try and find their passion and what they'll excel in. And so we've had women veterans who are full-time artists. We have someone who owns a horse farm, another woman who started a winery. So we really try and train them and get them to find a passion that we feel is really going to help them transition.
Yeah, one of the things we should probably chat about, maybe offline or on the show over here, is that one of the groups that we work with is called Journey's Map. Been involved with them for quite a while. They have a military component. They've got 6 patents, and they're all digital, and they're all tied to technology that, to your point, just because you did X in the military doesn't mean you want to do the same thing when you're out. But those skill sets can transfer. Do you use a lot of that technology to do that, working with DOD or working with other groups?
Absolutely. We've been integrating in a new program. Actually, one of our new programs is a 12-month entrepreneurship program. We find our veterans excel in entrepreneurship. And then we actually right now are in the process of pitching to win money for a makerspace that we would be able to help our military with products and things that they're wanting to do. And then we brought in some big names from industries that have worked on big things like the George Foreman grill, the Listerine strips, and teaching them on how to market their products. So we're really getting innovative, and the makerspace is a big step in that direction for any division of the military.
Yeah, without question. We're talking to Dr. Julie Ducharme. She is the president of Synergy Learning Institute. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diego for more than 60 years. When you're working with these vets, you've been doing this for quite a while now. What are the things that you probably surprised you the most about these folks? Since I've been going to these SDMAC breakfasts, San Diego Military Advisory Council breakfasts, and we're dealing with a lot of flag officers and so forth, their humility is absolutely off the charts. What they've done for us, people they've commanded and stuff. And, I get excited if I wrote a decent memo and these people are out there overseeing 60,000 troops and stuff. But what do you find the most interesting when you deal with those folks? To me, it was always their humility.
Humility, definitely. Incredible resilience. The stories I hear from our veterans and the things that have happened to them, not just in the military, but sometimes after the military because of the time they've served. We have this joke, we say, I can't believe you're not in the corner sucking your thumb because, wow, I think I would be. And so the resilience is amazing, which is why I absolutely love to hire veterans, and I love to hire male spouses. They're so good at what they do. I remember this one male spouse I was working with, I'd say, okay, so I need this. She's like, done. I'm like, well, what about done? And she already thought about what I was going to do and then did that. And so the resilience, the ability to complete complicated tasks, and the humility that they do it with is just amazing.
Right. And of course, a lot of loyalty, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that can-do attitude. You're right. I think that's terrific. It was interesting when I was chatting with some other groups that work in the same space you do. The thing that was interesting about veterans that were transitioning is, depending on where they were, what rank and all that business, they spent their career taking orders and so forth. And, and certainly the leaders, had the leadership qualities and all that. But one of the things I was hearing is that sometimes when they make that transition into civilian life, it was sometimes a little difficult for them to, know that, no, you can be as forceful as you need. You can step out of the box. You don't have to wait for someone to tell you to do something. Do you find that at all on some of the ones you work with?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Probably more of our younger ones. And definitely
right.
they'll ask for us to do X, Y, and Z. And I'll say, but that's something that you need to do. We'll give you a guide. And we'll be here, we'll stand here and see how we can help, but you need to do it because this is part of you transitioning. And if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of guiding and really breaking that, right? That yes, you can go outside. You and I don't have a rank. You have to take this step forward. And
right.
I have a few that, we always say they stand at that door and they really have to take the courage to turn the knob and walk through it, because they're walking through something that they don't necessarily have someone telling them what
That's
to
right.
do.
Right.
So we do a lot of breaking that mold and bringing them back to really how they find themselves.
Right. So, how closely do you work with the businesses? You said your program reaches more than just San Diego. You work with other municipalities outside the California, probably all over the world. Maybe are you working with those local businesses to say, here's businesses that love to hire military, and here are the type of jobs they have? How do you make that connection?
Yeah, I actually work with a lot of the local colleges. I actually head up the internship program at Cuyamaca College, where we not only place students in internships, but we actually, just the other day, I got a call about a need, and we were able to place a woman veteran who just lost her job into a new job. And so I find being involved in the colleges and local businesses, and I've been in San Diego for about 20 years now, is key. So we've built lots of relationships with people like Anderson Plumbing, who's fantastic.
They are. Yeah.
They take on a ton of our interns and train them, including my 4 businesses that I own. We take them in and constantly hire and train. So absolutely, we have to be completely involved in the community to make that happen. We do that my father is in Bakersfield, California. He was a professor for nearly 30 years. He's helped with our automotive program. Dr. Karen Walker is in Maryland and works in Washington, D.C. She's a 22-year Marine, retired. She helps with any of the groups out there in Community Connections.
Yeah. I think you're going to find when you meet some of the folks at the SDMAC breakfast coming up, you're going to have so many connections in that area. And Mary Jane Anderson, she's very, very cool.
She's wonderful. I love her.
Yeah. She's been on the show several times, and she's talked about her institute where, it was just so magnanimous. No, I want to train people if they want to go ahead and, learn how to do the plumbing business, the heating business, the gas business. That's part of their, I guess, Anderson Plumbing and Heating University, so to speak, in that area. When we come back from a break, we're going to continue the conversation with Dr. Linda Ducharme about the transitioning of those military into civilian life. And then we always save time in the second half of the show, Julie, for what can our listeners do to support your efforts? Can they, obviously shout out your business? Can they make contributions? Can they volunteer? And so forth. So when we come back from break, we'll chat about that and even more. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Very good.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing great things to San Diegans for more than 60 years. We are chatting with Dr. Julie Ducharme, president of Synergy Learning Institute. How do people get a hold of you? Website, smoke signals? What's the best way?
All of the above. I do look for smoke signals.
Oh, very good.
Well, actually, you can go to synergylearninginstitute.org is our actual technical vocational school. And also one of the initiatives that we have is called Lead and Empower Her She Talks. And if you go to leadandempowerher.com, you can see our tour, our conferences, and everywhere they go. And so those are 2 great ways. Obviously, you can go on social media, put in Dr. Julie Ducharme. You will find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn.
Right. So Lead and Empower Her She Talks. What is that all about?
I love this. So this was started about 4-5 years ago. And actually, it was someone was asking, about people coming up on stage and speaking and doing talks. And someone had told one of our veterans that she just wasn't popular enough and she hadn't made enough money to tell her story on stage. And me being a competitive retired athlete, I said, oh, well, we'll take care of that right away. So we came together and thought, what can we do to give our veterans a voice? And so we came up with Leading Power She Talks, which we did our first conference 5 years ago here. With the support of many of our newscasters and a big group, we came together and basically we gave empowerment talks and workshop trainings. And then it expanded from there. We started getting calls all over the place. I think we've done it in 8 states now. And so we bring in women from the industry who have been done really well, but then we also bring in women veterans and we train them how to do a TED Talk style talk or a workshop. And we take all the ticket sales from that, and that goes to our programs. And none of us take a fee for that. So we all volunteer our time. It's just a passion project that we believe in. And so it expands the mission of Synergy and at the same time raises money for our women.
No, I think that's terrific. So do you also get individual donations? Do you get grants? Do you get sponsorships? What else?
Yes, we work really hard on that. So we just recently received a scholarship for $60,000 from Makerspace USA.
Nice.
And that is going to fund a person to run our Makerspace. So
Congratulations.
we made it to semifinals pitching with hopes to win $60,000 for our Makerspace, which we've found several community locations. We're going to have a mobile Makerspace, not only for our veterans, but we are going to reach out to our students who may not get opportunities for that. So we'll travel throughout San Diego. Like I said, we do a lot of grants, Verizon Small Business, and then of course you can be a regular donor and do that. And so we do it all because nonprofits, you have to do it all.
Yeah, you do it right. You are everything, chief cook and bottle washer as well. Do you do events at this point, which is very labor intensive, of course?
It is. The biggest events we do are the She Talks. We do about 3 a year, which our one for San Diego is coming up October 1st. Those are very, very intensive because we are a small nonprofit and 99% of the work is done by myself and a very small team. And once again, it's all volunteer, and we fundraise, we create everything. So those are very labor intensive. We do in between try and do fundraisers. Of course, COVID made that a little difficult. So we are getting back on our feet with that. And then we hope with our mission and our group, we just constantly are encouraging memberships and donations to come in. And like I said, we're growing. We're excited about the recent grants we got. So,
yeah. Do you ever think, because of your background in professional sports, of hooking up with some of the professional sports teams? Obviously, with the San Diego Wave is here now, soccer, and you were volleyball and basketball and so forth. I know there's no WNBA team here, but maybe putting on some type of an exhibition?
We are working towards that. My other business, I work with predominantly professional athletes and celebrities. So we have had at our event WNBA, women barrier breakers like Vernice Flygirl, the first African-American female combat pilot. She's a huge supporter of us. We've had Justine Siegel, the first woman to coach men's professional baseball. So we have a long list of these. We have NFL athletes. So we're working together on figuring that out because that is really the next step, is trying to get all these amazing people in one spot at one time.
Right.
So that's definitely the next step on that that we're looking for. And of course, if anyone's listening and wants to be a part of it, please reach out to me because we have some wonderful people. I just have to drag all these wonderful people into one spot.
Right. And not as easy as it sounds, but I think certainly great. I mean, obviously with your background and a lot of pro athletes in town here, and they want to support the military. There's just absolutely no question about that. I want to go back to the different types of jobs that are opening up. We all know that cybersecurity, you can't turn your head and not find out 15 different examples of someone who got breached and so forth. And we know that many of the schools are really pushing this, even coming down into the high schools now. Certainly cybersecurity master's degrees are being offered at our universities. And it's a field that there's going to go, a high-paying job, and there's going to be 3 million openings, not too short down the road if there's not already at this point. Do you work in that area too with some of the people that are transitioning?
So we don't offer a cybersecurity program, but we've partnered with other groups that do. And we definitely, if people have that experience, we move them in that direction because as you said, there's so many jobs. And for many of our military, they've worked in this. And so it's very familiar and they already have the skills. So we are working very hard to create internships, connections and different things like that. So we definitely have some different schools that we've chatted with and a few nonprofit orgs as well. Our biggest thing is trying to make sure that they can use their GI Bill. And
Gotcha.
so we're trying to pair with those groups.
Right. Is that a challenge in some areas?
Some areas with some nonprofits, there's a lot of things you have to meet for GI Bills. We currently have a great group we're working with. It's UARD University in New Zealand. And so they are actually giving bachelor's and master's in crisis management. And they are GI Bill approved. So vets can actually go to New Zealand, have their housing paid, their food paid, and their program paid, live there, take the program, and then they're even set up to make it transferable into the United States. And crisis management is another big one that our veterans are really great at.
Yeah, I imagine they are. How about getting into the world of teaching? Do anyone think about, listen, I was an instructor. I taught people how to do X, Y, and Z. I think it'd be great to make a transition, whether it's in the high schools or the community colleges or charter schools or four-year schools.
So there is a bit of a process when becoming a teacher, obviously, in the four-year schools, which, it's that if they have their bachelor's degree already, then obviously transitioning to get that last master's credentials is not too much. At the colleges, it's a little easier. If you have your degrees, you fit into those. So those are a little harder, but there's a lot of train-the-trainer programs outside of that are really great. And I usually, if they don't have all the credentials or all the degrees yet, I encourage them to start there, get that experience while they're getting those teaching degrees. I would say probably getting into the K through 12 is probably the most toughest because you've got to put in time that's non-paid in the classroom. You've got to get that credential. You've got a lot of tests to take. And I don't want to deter anyone from that, but if they're looking to quickly get into something, then we try and find those organizations that are looking for them.
Yeah. I think that's going to change, to be honest with you. We're talking to Dr. Julie Ducharme. She's president of Synergy Learning Institute. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. And the reason why I say that, in one of my other jobs, we work very closely with the San Diego County Office of Education through Classroom of the Future Foundation, which there's a lot of synergy between what you're doing and what we try to do and that aspect of it. But as more and more teachers are leaving the industry because of the pandemic, among other things, in that area, I think they're going to be opening up. This is Drew's opinion. It hasn't, usually when Drew opens his mouth, not based on anything, right, just pulls it out of the air. But I think you're going to see a lot of opportunities for people to, come into the space if they've already got experience training folks and, taking jobs, the emergency credentials if they need to be and all that aspect. And to be honest with you, schools need to do that. The K-12 space absolutely needs to do that as we've been moving to a more relevant curriculum, finally, that people have been asking for probably since folks were walking upright. And I think that's critical. And, the veterans would be perfect for doing that, something maybe to pursue.
Yeah. My husband's been an elementary teacher for nearly 20 years.
There you go.
And we absolutely have seen this. And there is a big exit. They're desperate for good teachers to come in.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that has to happen is more of the schools have to be willing to give emergency credentials, which are becoming more and more rare, and create some different opportunities because some places won't even let them sub unless they have, I believe they're CBEST. And it's like if they just had their degree and they could sub and give them time. But I think it's those tests that trip them up as well. Some of those tests are incredibly hard and they have to take 2 or 3 times and they're really expensive.
Yeah. So, this will be another 5-hour conversation that Drew will be on as he eviscerates. Listen, I worked in public schools for 11 years at the San Diego City Schools Central Office. I'm a big fan of public schools, but, they do things that are in spite of, this is how you want to discourage people from doing it. And when you have these forward-thinking superintendents, and we're very fortunate in San Diego, we have a lot of forward-thinking superintendents. Unfortunately, they're hamstrung because of these rules. If Drew ran the world, he'd go up to Sacramento and say, CBEST, no more.
Yeah.
C-tips or whatever the other ones are. My daughter had to take all 4 of them. I forget the other ones. You'd know them off and I can't remember anything anymore at my age. But, and let's get folks in there that really know how to teach this stuff. And I think it'd be great for that aspect. So Julie, what can our listeners do to support your efforts?
Well, we'd love support in a variety of ways. Obviously, if you want to become a donor, we have people who, just donate $15 a month.
Right.
And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up. If you want to come to our She Talks events on October 1st, it's going to be at FIMX, which is close to Old Town. You can go to leadempower.com and find all the info there. That's a great way to do it. Those ticket sales go and help us fund our program for the year. We get our people through our programs at between $100 to a couple $100. We make them very affordable. So we're not a program that says we need thousands of dollars to get you through it. So that's a great way to do it. We need volunteers. I need volunteers all the time. Even if you're in another part of the country, we could use your help.
Yeah, and how about product at all? Can you use computers? Could you use software, other types of technology?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, our makerspace is going to be a really huge thing. And we actually have several of our veterans who have products that they're getting ready to launch.
That's great.
And we could use a makerspace because the cost to launch them is a lot of money.
Yeah. There's no question about that. I really want to glom onto something that you said. We say it almost every single episode of our Spotlight on the Community, probably boring the heck out of my audience for that matter. There's no such thing as too small of a donation.
Right.
And it's got to be emphasized. A lot of people think, I don't have Bill Gates' money. Well, most people don't. But you know what? $10 is fine. If you want to do that once a month, and maybe next month it's 20 and stuff. So I really want to encourage our listeners to do that. Any final comments?
Final comment is we're starting a thing called Pantry Heroes, and this is where we have people collect everything from food to clothes for our veterans in need. We're doing this across the U.S. We hope to have 100 of these. And we've also partnered with I Support the Girls, which provides bras and menstrual products to women all over the country. And between those two, we're going to hopefully help a lot of people out when they're in need. So if you're interested in being a Pantry Hero, you can reach out to us.
I shout out that website.
Oh, yes, synergylearninginstitute.org.
That's right. Well, listen, do me a favor. Make me a promise. I always like to make our guests do this. Next time you're on, bring in a veteran who's benefited from your services.
Absolutely.
Or one or two in that aspect of it. We always like to see this is the street cred that the reason why people are focusing on this. Dr. Julie Ducharme, it's just an absolute pleasure, president of Synergy Learning Institute. I look forward to having you back on with some of the folks who benefit, and I think you'll enjoy the San Diego Military Advisory Council breakfast on the 28th.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing terrific things to San Diegans for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.